President Biden signs a major executive order. And you won't believe what one major state is doing, which will make it a crime and will make it illegal for people to live in their state. I'll give you the details of that and more in this video. Let's jump right in. Thank you so much for liking these videos. Here we go. President Biden rolls out asylum restrictions that he says is months in the making to help, quote, gain control of the border after at least 10 million immigrants have crossed the border since he has been president. Take a listen.
Facing fierce criticism of his handling of the border crisis, President Biden tonight unveiling new executive action.
This action will help us gain control of our border.
The executive order will bar many migrants who cross the border illegally from requesting asylum when illegal crossings are over 2,500 per day, like they have been for the past 3 years. The restrictions last until they dip below 1,500 per day.
If they choose to come without permission and against the law, they'll be restricted from receiving asylum and staying in the United States.
It's 3:30 p.m. in Hidalgo, Texas, and this bus is transporting migrants who just came through the border wall. They'll be able to claim asylum, but those who cross after midnight will not. But there are exceptions to the restrictions, including unaccompanied children. Plus, migrants can still request asylum at ports of entry. Today's move comes after a record. Nearly 10 million migrants have crossed into the U.S. since President Biden took office. Our recent poll shows just 28% of Americans approve of President Biden's handling of the border. Today, the president blaming Republicans for blocking a bipartisan border security bill.
I've come here today to do what the Republicans in Congress refuse to do. Take the necessary steps to secure our border.
But Republicans say Biden sparked the crisis by reversing Trump border policies, blasting today's move as an election year stunt.
He can close the border down entirely. He's not going to do that. He has no interest in doing that. They want it wide open. So this weak measure here, don't be fooled.
While some Democrats also slamming the president's action.
It's not a time for us to turn to Trump-era policies. It's not time to go and use the tools that Trump used.
Today, we met a Venezuelan family who entered at a port of entry this morning, using the CBP One app created by the Biden administration to book appointments for asylum screenings. They said they slept on the streets in Mexico while waiting. How long were you waiting? 7 months and 6 days, he tells us, saying he came to the U.S. to work to feed his young family.
And Julia, we're already expecting legal challenges to this executive order.
Yes, Lester, the ACLU is threatening to sue, saying this order prevents migrants from exercising their right to claim asylum. Meanwhile, Border Patrol agents I've talked to say they're worried about a logjam when migrants who cannot claim asylum cannot be deported fast enough.
And President Biden has very little support for his border approval rating. By that measure, 28%. And, well, you know, this would at least somewhat limit the amount of migrants coming in or illegal migrants coming in. 2,500 per day. You guys can let me know your thoughts on that number. They have been trying to pass more border security for a while, beef up Border Patrol, more border funding, and President Biden has actually been repairing parts of the wall. Although many critics have said it is not enough and will not be enough. The other problem here is if he wins the election, which is a 50-50 shot, one of two candidates, he could simply just reverse the, temporary stuff of what he's doing here, limiting the 2,500 migrants that he's, letting in right now, and just get rid of that order if he wins the election, and that number could just be gone and they could just go back to letting in, who knows how many per day right now. However, some states are starting to take it into their own hands. We've seen Texas doing this here recently, and now Oklahoma. Take a listen here.
Oklahoma wants to make it a state crime to live there without legal immigration status. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt joins me now. Governor, Justice Department is suing you for this. But it seems to me that it's really all about who controls immigration policy, the feds or you guys at the state level. Is that what you're fighting for?
Absolutely. Well, first off, I mean, it's already illegal to be in our country undocumented or to come in anywhere except the port of entry. So this law did not all of a sudden that we passed in Oklahoma make it a crime to be here illegally. So that's the first thing. But again, we've got to have a secure border, but we also believe in immigration policy and workforce. So we're actually trying to solve that in Oklahoma. And I set up a task force that would really put H-1B visas back in the state form. And so we want the state of Oklahoma to be able to determine who's in our state, who's working. Let's make sure that we know who they are. And meet the needs of our workforce, quite frankly. But we have to have a secure border. We stand on that in Oklahoma.
But you want more H-1B visas, don't you?
That is correct. I mean, doesn't it make sense that our employers would come to the state, like if you need more construction workers and more agriculture workers and manufacturing, and we could help match up the workforce needs of the employer with the employee. And we're like the country that everybody wants to come to, but we're not utilizing that. They need to pay taxes. They need to be part of our society. I'm not saying that they have to vote, or we're not going to make them U.S. citizens and give them access to all of our safety nets. But if somebody wants to come work and provide a service, then we should match those two people up, and that's kind of our philosophy in Oklahoma.
But if they don't have legal immigration status, they cannot be matched up with an employer in Oklahoma. You can't have illegals in there, can you? You don't want illegals there, do you?
That's exactly right. We've got to make sure we know who's coming in, and if you look at who's coming through the southern border, only 18% are Mexican nationals. I mean, you got people from all over the world, people on the terrorist watch list, 52,000 from China that are coming in across the southern border. The Biden administration has got to fix that. And that's why Republican governors have been putting out proposals that are pretty common sense. You've got to remain in Mexico until you get legal status to get here.
Now, the question here, is this enough or is this too little too late? The other question here on a lot of people's minds is, if former President Donald Trump were to win the election, what might he do differently? And, remember that they never really shut the border down completely, even when former President Donald Trump was president. If he were to be president again, remember, we basically got a 50-50 shot here, two different candidates. And remember, there's a lot of people that are Republicans that will always vote Republican. We have a lot of people that are Democrats that will always vote Democrats. And we see that almost every election. And then we have the people in the middle who are basically the people that decide the elections, right? What might happen here with the next election, and what might happen with the border, which has basically been a disaster here recently? Remember, Trump built the wall's up there, and yet we're still seeing these disasters because these people come to the ports of entry and basically just kind of get let in. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I will keep you up to date here on a daily basis what's happening here in our country. If you haven't yet, thank you so much for liking these videos. Please share these videos with anybody that needs to hear this information, and subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new videos that come out here on our YouTube channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you own or rent, this video will affect you. So watch this video next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in that next video.